everybody, and welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about Pokemon today. In particular, there are two new Pokemon games out, Pokemon Shining Pearl and Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. Though to call them new games would be a bit of a stretch, since they are remakes of original games, and beyond that, they are incredibly faithful remakes of the original games. Those original games being Pokemon Pearl and Pokemon Diamond, which were the first Pokemon titles on the Nintendo DS. They are so similar that when I started to play Pokemon Shining Pearl, having not played the original in many years, my immediate thought within seconds of actually starting to play this game is, hang on, this is exactly the same as the last one that I played, the original that I played. So what I actually did was go back and start to play the original Pearl as well, just to make that comparison. And even within the context of remakes, this one is just so similar. What the developers have done really, really well is create that sense of nostalgia. If you did like Pokemon Pearl and Diamond, as I did, then the kind of the waves of nostalgia that will hit you as you're playing is certainly a nice thing. And when they've contextualized it in this new visual style, which is quite vibrant and modern, and I think newer players will appreciate that, this is a game that I think will appeal to quite a lot of people. At the same time, it is not an uncomplicated remake, and you can check out my review on digitallydownloaded.net for my full thoughts on it, but there are issues with this game in the way that it's designed that point to a future of Pokemon that is perhaps not necessarily for me. Now, I've been playing Pokemon for my entire life. I grew up playing Pokemon Blue and Red, and I've played every single Pokemon game since. These last couple of Pokemon titles I have enjoyed, that being Sword and Shield and now Pokemon Shining Pearl. I have enjoyed them, but what the developers are trying to do to modernize Pokemon is perhaps a little bit off-putting to me as a traditionalist, but I do fully recognize that that is me just being a traditionalist. Anyway, what I thought I'd do for this video, because it is of interest to me and it is kind of the defining characteristic, I think, of Pokemon Shining Pearl, is do this side-by-side comparison with the original game. I've gone back and have captured footage up until the end of the first gym battle from both games, and I'll put them side-by-side in comparison so you can see just how similar these two games are beyond that visual element. I will say that one of the things that I really loved about this game being so nostalgic is that, as I said before, I'm quite the traditionalist when it comes to Pokemon, and I actually prefer the designs of the earlier era Pokemon. And the reason for that is pretty simple. Those earlier era Pokemon, because they were inhibited a little bit by the graphical power of the consoles and the limitations in terms of what the developers could do with animation and all that stuff, those original era Pokemon were very much more designed after real animals. They were there to be quite familiar. Yes, they were exotic in a lot of ways as well, but there was some kind of basis in there that allowed you to connect with them. So, for example, Pikachu is a mouse and is very much designed after a mouse. And yes, he does the zappy thing and he has the spiky tail, the lightning bolt tail, but he is still identifiably a mouse. When you look at the more recent Pokemon games, the designs of the monsters have become far more outlandish, and that's because they've run out of real animals, I guess, to base them on, but also because the developers have had more to work with. So they've fully indulged that. And I'm not criticizing the design of more modern Pokemon. I think that the developers know what they're doing, and they're certainly creating monsters that will appeal to the target demographics of these games, with me being, I guess, on the older end of things these days. But again, as somebody who grew up playing the earlier era Pokemon, I enjoy those earlier designs more. The thing that I really loved about Pearl, Shining Pearl, is that they've taken those original designs and done the kind of modern look on them, so that we have the more traditional Pokemon monster designs in this lovely 3D render that you can really enjoy from the power of the Switch. And I have really enjoyed that. I mean, Pokemon Pearl has my favourite era starting Pokemon in it, and that was another thing that hit me with a big wave of nostalgia from the outset. Piplup is my favourite starting Pokemon of all, and very close to my very favourite Pokemon of all. There wouldn't be too many above him, maybe Farfetch'd, maybe Psyduck, but certainly Piplup is up there. And I have a fun story about Piplup. My first trip to Japan was about 16 years ago, about the same time that Pokemon Pearl came out. I remember playing it on the plane over, actually. And I was, of course, as a Pokemon fan, I was, of course, always going to go to a Pokemon Center to check those out, because they are dotted across Japan, and that's something that we didn't have in Australia. I was also a cadet journalist at the time. I had very little money. I was on, I think it was about 30,000 a year, which in Australia is a pittance. So this was really all my savings for a long time, plus a loan from the bank to actually afford this trip. So I went along to the Pokemon Center, and it being the capitalist delight that it is, if you're into your consumer toys, then you can spend a lot of money in there. I did spend a lot of money in there, and the big thing I bought was this big stuffed Piplup, because I had a Piplup in my game. I was all into Piplup at the time, and this Piplup was there, and I just had to buy it. It was not cheap. I actually blew pretty much my budget for the rest of the trip on this thing, and I felt pretty stupid about that at the time because I still hadn't actually been to Akihabara at the time, and I was looking forward to going there, and I didn't have any money for my first trip to Akihabara. But I brought Piplup back with me, and I have still got that stuffed toy 16 odd years later. So now, in hindsight, it was a purchase that I very much value, and I do enjoy that stuffed toy. But that's why I have this kind of personal connection to Pokemon Pearl. It hit me at the right time in my life, I guess, that it became a memorable title. And I didn't actually think, until Nintendo dropped this code in at me, I didn't think I was ever going to want to play Pokemon Pearl again. I don't know why, but it was just, I've moved on. I've played plenty of other Pokemon games. I've got plenty of other things to do. I just had this opportunity to play this game as a review, and it landed in my lap, and I started to play it, and I just had these waves of nostalgia hit me. So again, I think that that's the main appeal of this game, is for people who, like me, grew up with Pokemon. And while it does have that visual style, and I do think that newer players can still find something to appreciate from it, it is certainly a game that feels like it has been made for the older Pokemon fans. And I guess to kind of segue that into the broader discussion about Pokemon, Pokemon has been such a massive thing for so long now, it has got a number of different demographics within it. And Nintendo and Game Freak have to be very careful about how they manage the property going forwards. And I think that part of the hostility that these companies get with the new Pokemon titles, every time a new one releases, there's some kind of controversy that comes with it. Part of that comes from the fact that they're trying to juggle multiple different demographics at the same time. It has the older fans like me who are certainly, adults now. When we started playing the games, we were kids, and through that time our tastes have changed, our sense of aesthetics have changed, the kinds of games we like to play have changed. So the developers need to find a way to make these games kind of relevant to us, and what they've done with this one is make it very nostalgic to bring us back to, I guess, our childhood. But at the same time, they've got these younger fans, and Pokemon is still such a massive property, and they need to find a way to engage with those fans as well. So that's why they do some things like, I think Sword and Shield was an attempt to appeal to the younger fan as opposed to the more veteran. And whether that succeeded or not, who knows. But the next one that's coming up, and I can't remember the names of them off the top of my head, but they seem to be another attempt to engage with the younger fan as well. So that seems to be how they're trying to manage this. Tap into the older games for the older fans and create kind of new experiences for newer fans. Try different things with the aesthetics to find the next hit, because the pixel thing has kind of gone away. I don't think Game Freak is really the kind of company to create those big hyper-realistic or hyper-detailed worlds, so they're looking for ways to do simple aesthetics in a nice way. They might want to check in with Koei Tecmo or something to find some different ways of doing that. I think Gust would do a great job with a Pokemon game, just saying. But yeah, I think that Pokemon is just such a massive property, and it's such a fascinating property to follow, that each new game release gives you new things to think about how it's being managed, about what kind of audience it has, where it might go next, what Nintendo and Game Freak are doing with it. And within that context, this game in particular is quite interesting to me. I'll be interested to see what kind of audience it finds, because while it does have clear audiences, and I do think, once again, that there's something in there for everybody, at the same time I can just see that it is going to wash over some people as being just a dinky little remake of a pretty much a forgotten game within the Pokemon property. Certainly, like I said in my review on DDNet, I think that Pokemon White and Black might have been the better one to aim for as a remake target, because that game has a better reputation many years later than I think Pearl and Diamond do. But who knows, maybe it is a super hit for Nintendo, maybe it does the massive numbers over Christmas that they might want it to. I guess we'll wait and see. Anyway, go and check out my review on digitallydownloaded.net. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments. Which aesthetic do you prefer? I mean, now that you've seen this video and you've seen the original Pokemon Pearl and the remake, Which one do you think is kind of better? Are you going to play this new one, or are you just going to replay the original Pokemon Pearl now that you know that they're basically the same game? You can do both and have the same experience, really. Do let me know your thoughts, and now just to run through all the normal stuff we do at the end of each video, please do mash that like and subscribe button if you enjoy my videos. That way you won't miss any going forwards. And if you want to support what we're doing on this here channel, please do consider backing us on Patreon, which you can do for just $1 a month or more if you're feeling generous. But in doing so, not only do you support the growth of this channel as well as digitallydownloaded.net itself, but you also get a monthly magazine, which is 48 pages of all kinds of interesting discussion points to do with Japan, not just video games, but also broader culture, arts, music, all of that kind of stuff, film. So it is a good magazine if you're into Japanese art and want to know, I guess, a bit more about the context that leads to these games. And on top of that, you actually will get the magazine this week, because the next one is actually coming out on the weekend. So there's a reason for you to jump onto that Patreon and back us right away. Alright, thanks very much, and we will see you at the next video.